I still could not see. I couldn't see it, and I didn't believe him. Hello everyone, it's Marquita, but you can call me Q. I'm here to lead people to God in faith. This is a faith-based channel founded in the Word of God. Today, I'm just going to be bringing a quick story about myself and how God led me into the wilderness and what that was really like for me. It was an extremely difficult point of my journey with God. It was very isolating and lonely. God led me into the wilderness, and God does lead you into the wilderness sometimes. Sometimes you think your wilderness is because of the devil, but sometimes it is actually God who led you into the wilderness. Mark 1:12, the Spirit led Jesus into the wilderness. Sometimes God leads you into the wilderness, and God led me into the wilderness. God called me and I answered. It took me a while, but I finally picked up the phone and answered the call of God. And God gave me very specific instructions on where I was to go next on my journey. And I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant at first. It took me a while to follow these instructions God gave me, but I finally did it, and I finally walked, and I followed God, and He led me into the wilderness, into a valley of dry bones. And here I was standing by myself in this isolation. And I just thought to myself, like, what did you just do? Hello? Hello? And not only did God lead me, but God got silent on me. He gave me instructions, led me, and He got quiet. It was crickets, like nothing. He got silent on me in my wilderness. While God was leading me there, I was so focused on God, so consecrated in the Lord, that I did not realize where He was leading me till I looked up and I was like, whoa, hello, Lord, Father, hello. Some of the instructions God had given me was to quit my job, to begin writing my second book, and He gave me the names of some people I needed to start distancing myself from, and even some people that I needed to leave alone. Following these instructions was very hard for me, especially quitting the job one. It was so hard. It took me a long time to follow these instructions for me, but I finally did it one by one. Slowly, I started following the instructions God gave me. And by the time I got towards the end of the list, I looked up and realized where I was. And it kind of hit me. I realized that there was no one around, no one I could lean on, no more people to gossip with, no one I could look to or turn to. It was just me in this place and God. That's it. But at the time, I really thought to myself, it was just me. I was lonely. I was by myself. I was in isolation in this wilderness, in this place of dry bones, where God was telling me, God was telling me it was my beginning. But to me, it looked like nothing but death. nothing but dry bones. And that was truly hard for me, to sit in that place by myself. Because all I could say was, God, what am I supposed to do here? I have nothing. I am nothing. So why did you bring me to this place? What is the point? And that's all I could think to myself. You know, I still had some friends and I still had family, but I couldn't talk to them because they wouldn't understand. I mean, how would your friends and your family look at you if you say, well, God told me to quit my job, God told me to do this, God told me to do that? They would look at you like you were absolutely insane. So I'm sitting here in this place and I felt so lonely. Looking back now, I know God led me to this place so I could build myself up in Him, so I can set up this firm foundation in this beautiful relationship I have now with Him. But at the time, my brain could not fathom that. I could not believe this valley of dry bones to be anything but death, but loneliness, but isolation. For this wilderness to be nothing but scary. I couldn't believe it to be anything else. I wouldn't have come to know and understand God the way I do now if I had not been led to that place in the wilderness, to that valley of dry bones. I wouldn't have my foundation in the Word of God if I had stayed in the crowd. I really wouldn't have. A lot of things I had been trying to do while I was in the crowd, it took me forever to get it done. I was so sluggish following God's instructions. But it's like soon as He pulled me out, it had only been 2 weeks since I completed all His instructions. And as soon as He pulled me out, I thought I had been away for at least a month or more. That's how long it felt like to me, because that's how much work I got done when it was just me and God. I thought it had been months. And then I looked back at the calendar to realize it had only been 2 weeks. But I felt like I was on cloud 9. And I finally began to understand what God meant by it was my place of new beginning. But at first, I didn't see that. I didn't realize that. All I saw was these dry bones, and I'm looking at God like, really? Really? I'm telling you, the conversations I have with God, y'all would be cracking up because He is my Father. He said so. So I talk to Him just like I would my Father. Like, really, Father, this is what we're doing, Father. Okay. God wanted to build something up in me. I was so used to being the rock for everyone else, being everyone else's backbone, whether it be my jobs or my friends. I was so used to it that people would take advantage of how dependable I was, how hardworking I was, how I would give the shirt off my back to someone, how I would go out of my way to help people. People would take advantage of this, but I was so used to being that rock. I could not see myself as anything else but a rock for people to lean on, for people to depend on. And God pulled me from that. Everyone I had been a rock to, everything I had been a rock to, my work or people, he pulled me away from those people. He said, daughter, you are not a rock. I am your rock. Depend on me. Lean on me, daughter. And that was really hard for me, because at the time I thought, well, if I'm not a rock, what am I? Who am I? And he said, you are my daughter. You are my daughter, and I am your father. And you are my author, and you are my writer. But still sitting in that valley of dry bones, I still could not see. I couldn't see it, and I didn't believe him. That was a really humbling experience, to be taken from this place where I used to hold up others and hold up my own weight, to be taken from that place and say, daughter, you have no more weight to carry. Let me carry your weight. It was really humbling to learn how to be dependent on somebody else. So humbling. I didn't realize how much of me being a rock for everyone else had become a characteristic of mine. How it began to define and shape who I was and mold me into this person that I really wasn't, but I was so used to be, that I was so used to being, that I just sat there in comfort as this rock with cracks in it that was slowly breaking, and I did not realize it. But once I cracked, who was I gonna lean on? Who was gonna catch me once I started to crumble? And that's why God took me out of this place. And he said, daughter, I am your rock. And he caught me as I crumbled. He caught me and he helped me and he molded me. And he put me back together so beautifully. So beautiful. During my wilderness though, I didn't realize this is what God was doing though. God will strip you down to build you back up. And the process is painful, but the end product of it is beauty. It is beautiful. God's love is beautiful. God can lead you to the wilderness, but you are never alone. God may lead you to a place where you believe he deserted you, but know that he is right there. Just like the children of Israel in Exodus, God led them out of Egypt, and in their wilderness, during their time in their wilderness, they would cry to God, why would you deliver us from that, to lead us into this wilderness to die? And sometimes that's what it feels like when God is rebuilding you, when he wants to give you instructions, when he wants to rebirth you. It feels like God delivered you from a thing to lead you into another thing, and it feels like he led you to a place of death. But he did not. God will never desert you. Those bones may appear to have no life to you, and that wilderness may appear scary, but know that God is there and he has a plan for you. But it's up to you to have faith enough in God, to trust the process, to trust God to lead you through the wilderness. Have faith enough to follow God's instructions on how to bring those dry bones around you back to life. That is all up to you. You can wander the wilderness for 40 years. You can stare at those dry bones, or you can follow God's instructions to be led out of the wilderness, follows God's instructions to bring those dry bones back to life, and follow him so he can lead you out of the wilderness. So that's it. That's really my quick little story about my wilderness. I didn't really intend to cry so much, but just thinking about how God delivered me, what God has done for me, it just brings me to tears, because I know where I have been and where I am now, and I'm just so thankful to God. I'm so thankful for my Father. So thank you all so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and remember to travel a road that requires faith.